Do you want to see the dark side of nature? Do you want to see something brutal, intense? And do you want to see what Mother Nature can do when it's turned up to 11? Well, I've got the movie for you. We're going to review the brand new Twisters movie right now.
Welcome to the Light, Camera, Rant podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Lights, Camera, Rant, and we've got another fantastic movie review for you guys. We've got the brand new Twisters movie, which has just dropped and just released in the theaters this week, and I would like to thank you so much to Universal Australia, who invited me to Advanced Screen to go see the movie, which I was so excited for all week. It has been my highlight. It's funny, like when this movie first got announced back in October 2022, I was a bit like, oh, they're gonna do a sequel to Twisters. I was like, how are you going, or Twister, the original 1996 film, I was a little bit, how are you gonna do that? And all year I've been like, I know it's coming. It's on the must-watch list. Have to go see it. And when Universal sent me the invite, I was like, yes, let's go. Myself, my partner, mark my words, we all got to go. And it was awesome. They had a giant set backdrop for you to take photos with, which we dropped on our Instagram and our LinkedIn profile, and it had that 360 video thing, which was really cool, which I will post as well. And it was just an experience. And again, I am always very grateful for these invites. I'm always grateful when we get to these chances, connect with people, see people we have seen before, some new, some old, but just the overall experience is fantastic. And I have to say, I remember when I first saw the original Twister movie when I was a kid, because obviously I didn't see it was in 1996 because I would have only been 3. So saw it later, and I remember parents being like, "Oh no, this is good. Yeah, this is a good disaster movie. Like, this is a good film. You should watch it. You'll like it." Funny enough, actually, the real funny thing is I saw it when I was a kid with my family, and back in primary school, we used to have these Friday movie days, and they actually did put Twister on, and I remember one kid walking out crying, and I was like, "Oh no, I've seen this before. It's not scary at all." Fast forward 20 years later, I'm like, wow, we probably should have watched that in primary school, especially the fact that there was people dying, flying cows, families getting torn. Probably shouldn't have watched that at all. But hey, here we are. And that original 1996 film, that was definition of a summer blockbuster. It made its money back. It won many awards. One little fact I didn't even know is that because that film came out, the intake that the university, Oklahoma University, had for meteorologists, apparently tripled. I've had people intaking who wanted to be and degrees. I'm like, that's pretty good. That's when a movie does really well. At least it can, it boosts all that. I don't know if that's going to happen this time, but you never know. It might with Twisters. It might double again and at least do something different. But and that original film, it's funny, for 1987, like, there were so many, in the 90s, there were so many action films, big blockbuster films. CGI was more hit and miss depending on the film. Like, you got somewhere that was really shit, and then you got, like, Terminator 2, where it was, like, perfect. But, even though nearly 20 years later, the CGI for Twister still holds up to this day. And we're rewatching it, and I'm just like, wow, it still holds up. It's that crisp. Still, yes, it's a little bit grainy, different depending on the part, but it still holds up today. So look, going into this movie, I would highly recommend anyone just go back and watch that original film and just get a vibe for it. In probably the one thing is going into this film that, yes, we are also going to be covering spoilers left, right, and center going into this film. Probably one thing is from just that first viewing, there was only like two things in the film that actually remind me from the original one. One was Dorothy, the little tinfoil things that grew up in the twister so they could analyze it. That's right at the start, so that was pretty cool. And then the second thing I noticed was twisters. That was literally the only two things I noticed where I was like, okay, that's from the very first movie. Now, interesting enough, what I didn't know looking back into this film was apparently they've been trying to get a sequel off the ground many times. Bill Paxton tried to get a sequel off the ground. Alan Hunt, who was originally in the film, tried to get a sequel off the ground. That was going back to 2020. They should try to get that off the ground. She was going to star in it, going to direct it. Apparently, Universal were like, nah, we don't want it. We're not going to do it. And then fast forward 2 years, they announced that this is coming. So this is it's a standalone sequel in the sense that, hey, we like the premise, we like the imagery, we like the posters, we like the idea of the film, but we aren't going to have the same characters, we aren't going to follow the plot, we're going to do something completely different to a degree. Which is it. Still has very similar elements in the film. We still get two teams of storm chasers. We are still getting massive tornadoes. There is still death. And the death that happens in this film is in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You get the death straight off the bat with this. It is go, go, go. So in this particular movie, we got three main characters. We have Kate Cooper, who's played by Daisy Edgar-Jones. We get Glenn Powell, who plays Tyler Owens, the Twister Wrangler. And Anthony Ramos, who plays Javi, which you would have known. Well, you would have known Glenn Powell from Top Gun. You would have known Anthony Ramos from Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And Daisy, she's been in a couple of theater productions, TV shows. So her filmography is a little bit small, but she's going to blow up with this. I have no doubt. She is the anchor. She's the strength for the entire film. So those three performances are fantastic, and they carry the film very well on both the surreal action death bits and the nice real sober moments for this film. So they do carry the film. There's no Tom Cruise, there's no Arnie, there's no Nicolas Cage. It is all semi-fresh actors, and they carry this film really well. So the main character is Kate. So she is from Oklahoma. She's a storm chaser. It's in her blood. And she, as a kid, she tries to find a way to, end twisters forever. Well, a way that they could, tackle twisters, and the fact they could disperse them a lot quickly before they turn from a category 1 turns into a category 5. Now, unfortunately, the very beginning of the film, she tried to test her theory. However, it goes horribly wrong, and about three of her friends do pass because they get taken by this twister. She thought it was only going to be a category 1, but it turned into a category 5, and it doesn't end really well. Unfortunately, it doesn't end really well. So, we get that. Fast forward 5 years, we see Javi, who's gone into becoming a storm chaser himself for an insurance company that will be able to analyze twisters with updated technology and see how there'd be more detail, because they explain in the film that how twisters form is, it's very interesting. Multiple elements, and I did like this. It was like multiple elements play a key factor in a twister, but there's a lot of multiple elements that are the unseen that make a twister be formed. So in this film, we get about 3 to 4 massive twisters that happen of them storm chasing. So we get a lot of damage, and the last twister is something that wow, a twister is really, really terrible on its own. But how about this? What if we get a twister that's lit and on fire, and it's even 3 times as bigger? Paint it. Let's go. The last twister becomes litter than a Christmas dinner and is insane. And it's just one of those moments where someone's like, yeah, we've had the twister. How do we make it worse? How do we make it stronger? How do we make it better? And the CGI when this twister gets lit on fire is fantastic. And not only is the destruction, but you feel after every twister, you have that soul slow, quiet moments, and you see the destruction it does to these families. You see what it does destruction to the area, and you feel them. You feel for the people who are affected. You feel for the characters, and they convey that very well. Especially as the twisters, besides the first one, which is Category 5, and the very end's of Category 5. After that first one, each twister gets worse and worse, and you know how it goes. And another thing I did love about this is that, Glenn Powell's character Tyler, he's a twister wrangler. He's a YouTuber, could relate, and his whole thing is that he can take you down a twister, and he can, what he does, it's really cool. His truck is all decked out. It can go on the ground. It's got fireworks. It's got everything. They go in the middle of a twister and shoot fireworks directly up. So it's almost like a big 4th of July turns a twister into, which is insane. So basically, his team, Kate's team, goes head to head in this and trying to find the biggest storm chase and how they can help people. Because the main thing about this film, right, is that they want to find a way to stop the twisters happening, how they can help people, and of course, there's a little bit of insurance, and I've got to make money on these people who have all been devastated. So you do get that angle, because Jarvis' team, and it's really fantastic. You do get that point. Now, as the movie progresses, I did say there are some corny moments. It's just like, there's a scene at the airport where it's like, if you want to go, if you're afraid of something, just go chase it, and you'll be fine with it. That's what you really do that. And then obviously the guy follows the girl. They don't, their big moment. She'll stay, stuff like little things like that. You're just like, yeah, take that off the generic list. Take that off the generic list and keep going. But watching the film, this is, as soon as that film ended, I'm like, this is a summer blockbuster. This is something you go see on the big, this is like, Deep Impact, Independence Day. This is something huge, massive. This is how you kick off the summer blockbuster. This is what you want. So if you're looking for a film where in a year, in a movie that's just sequels and reboots, and I know this one is a sequel. I know, I can already hear the comments being like, this one's only a sequel, or you're trying to say it's different. Yes, I am saying it's a little bit different, because this is actually a sequel worthwhile, because it's technically a sequel, and at the same time it's not, because it's standalone. So it's a little bit of a grey area. So I think you would like this very much. Because, Despicable Me 4, yes, Joker 2, Deadpool 3, June 2, all of them. But this being a solely standalone sequel is really good. And this is one of those movies where it's well worth buying that ticket to go see a film, because you want to see something big and massive and an action film where you get to go watch it and you're not thinking about what cameos, you're not thinking about any of that story. The story's pretty straightforward. It is devastating at parts, but this has got everything that you want. So this film gets a complete thumbs up from me, and this is one of the better films I've seen this year, and I highly recommend to go see it. So if you have seen it, please let me know in the comments. Please know what your thoughts are. And another question I do sometimes is, do you want to see a sequel? I'm like, no, we can wait another 20 years before we get another Twisters film. It is totally fine. We don't need a sequel to this. This is better than what I thought. But this 100% Twisters lives up to the destruction, the hype, the gravitas that happens in the first Twister film, and you feel that. So it is a worthy successor and is worth your price of admission to go see this film. So definitely, if you have seen it, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. And if you haven't, come back and let's chat about it, because I'm always happy to rant. And until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.